Howdy folks, I'm the hash-slinging slasher,
I'm Amber.
and here's some Reddit. But tonight's Tuesday night, except for it's not Tuesday night for you, it's actually Wednesday afternoon for you. But it's Tuesday night for me, and that's what's important, and Amber. Our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for buying a property where the house burned down, leaving a small mother-in-law suite, and not rebuilding the house there? My neighbors think so. I was looking to buy a place and I wanted something very small since I've been living alone and I don't want to clean a lot. I found something pretty unique, a lot which had a house that burned down and was demolished. Everything was taken out so the land could be built on. But there was a garage still standing there with a one-bedroom mother-in-law suite just above it. Just a bedroom, bathroom, and a little kitchen. This was surrounded by a half-acre of mostly forest. I didn't know what to think at first until I went in toward it. I loved it. The 3-car garage would give me the space that I wanted to work on my car and bikes. The suite upstairs was bigger than any apartment I had ever been and would be my own, and I could customize it in a way that I never could with an apartment. And the price was super low, unbelievably low for the area. I actually was able to pay a 50% down payment and I'll own it in full in 5 years. I checked with the local regulations and it would be legal for me to live in the mother-in-law suite on the property. Anyways, long story short, I closed on the house and moved in. I was really happy with the place. It was just the right amount of space for me, roomy without being a pain to clean. The outdoor space is great for my dogs and housing barbecues with my friends. So, on to the trouble. A couple of neighbors made comments about being glad that someone moved in to fix the place, which was an eyesore to their street. But a while later, my neighbors started asking when I would start building, and I realized they thought that I was living in the mother-in-law suite and had been planning on building a main house. I said I wasn't planning on it yet, and I don't need a lot of space yet. My neighbors got upset that I was bringing down the property value by leaving the lot a vacant lot and living in the old garage, not mentioning that the garage was new and a whole residence. I said I wasn't trying to bring it down and I would keep it nice, but I didn't have a house and I wasn't going to build one and I didn't have that kind of money. They just said by keeping it as I was bringing it down since the value maybe was a sixth of the other homes on the street. I got frustrated and said that I wasn't the one who burned down the house and maybe blame whoever did that. I just got the place as is. The neighbors got upset with me, saying that because they had been close with the previous neighbors and the fire had been a tragic accident. I said sorry, I didn't know, but honestly, they couldn't put their expectations on me after I bought the place not knowing any of that. I just bought a place and wanted to get something that I could afford. How could I expect to suddenly be expected to spend 6 times as much? The neighbor said that if I was buying a demolished building's land, then there was an expectation that I would rebuild. Am I the jerk for buying land without plans of building? Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk? Not the jerk?
Not the jerk.
Amber says not the jerk. I can understand the neighbors being concerned about their property values, but there's more to life than just property values. And the thing is that if they were that concerned about the property being this cheap and needing an actual building on it, then maybe they should have bought it themselves. I think that they are overreacting in this situation. It doesn't sound like the mother-in-law apartment is bad. It doesn't sound like it's run down. It doesn't sound like you are junking up anything. So, no, I don't think that you're the jerk in this situation. It's tragic that the old house burned down, but like you said, you didn't burn it down, did you? So anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk, this isn't about property values. It's about micromanaging the neighbors who want to tell you what you can and can't do on your own property. As long as you don't have a bunch of rusting cars or cooking meth, they can all go pound sand. This is your property, your rules. Don't let your neighbors bully you into doing what they want you to do. That being said, a fence might be a good investment for both privacy from your neighbors and to clearly mark out your property in case they decide to slowly encroach on your land, i.e. planting a garden that creeps onto your property. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for letting my husband deal alone with the environment that he created in our home? This wasn't my first significant other with kids. I was prepared to not have any real authority with his 2 daughters. I've navigated the family dynamics as well as I can. My childhood was about absolute obedience and labor. His upbringing was progressive but also neglectful. He lost his childhood to caretaking his grandfather with early onset Alzheimer's. It hasn't been rainbows. We've both had psychiatric disorders. We cope, we work on things, but after dozens of conversations about my PTSD triggers and mutual respect in the house, things have gotten steadily harder. Never more so than when his daughters came to live with us full time. He's very tidy and responsible, so it never occurred to me that when they came to live with us, that they would not be given chores. None. When COVID hit, I resigned from my warehouse job. I was left with everything: cooking, cleaning, meal planning, and they would help me briefly when asked, expect praise, and then immediately would go back to their phones. Though we have enough money for food, I began skipping all of my personal favorites to avoid being treated like I was selfish for buying anything that they don't like. He says that he can't infringe on their childhood, but at the same time, he also can't make himself appreciate what I get done without criticizing things like how I fold shirts. He wakes me up hours before my alarm to be angry at me because the dishes aren't done or he can't find socks. I'm on edge all the time, just waiting for the criticism. That doesn't sound healthy. It all came to a head. Our cats got fleas when we had to treat the house. Everyone was itchy and it was terrible. But apparently cleaning, also killing fleas, was my pet project and not a household project. When his oldest daughter, 19, left 4 loads of dirty laundry from her closet floor, where the cat sleeps, in the dining room for a week when she was at her boyfriend's, I got blamed for it, for not finishing the cleaning I had started. Wow, that's really unfair. That broke the camel's back. I slept on it. The next day I talked with his mom, and then I had a talk with him. I'm staying with her for the next 6 to 8 months to help her clean and prepare her home to sell it. I am boxing my non-essentials, and if things don't get seriously better, I'm looking for an apartment. I've been living 4 blocks away for 1 week, and he's having fits taking care of everything himself. I'm scraping old paint, washing floorboards, cleaning out mouse nests. He had to do 3 loads of laundry this week and dishes daily, and is finally mad that his kids just don't do anything. Mad and insulted, and all I can say is, yeah, that's rough. Am I a jerk for quitting the home? That I would rather live and clean an old broken down house that smells like mouse and dog feces than keep cleaning up after my family? Is it just petty if my husband doesn't have a moment of, oh man, she made my life better, and apologize for shaming me looking at a box of frosting-free Pop-Tarts? I'm not going back. All right. Well, what do you folks think? Jerk? Not the jerk?
Not the jerk.
Amber says not the jerk. I'm inclined to agree with her here. I think that OP is in a rough situation. And I think the one thing that OP might have been able to do differently in this situation is just tell her husband that if their attitudes about her cleaning doesn't change, then she was going to move out. Though I think it's pretty self-evident, I guess, pretty obvious that if someone doesn't feel appreciated, then they're going to probably leave. And so I think in that respect, she probably didn't need to give him a heads up, because it was probably pretty obvious that if you treat someone crummy, eventually they're going to be like, hey, I don't want to be treated crummy anymore, and then they'll leave. So I can't blame OP in the very least for getting upset that people were blaming her for the chores not being done, especially when her daughter, well, her, daughter-in-law, her stepdaughter, that's the word I'm looking for, stepdaughter left a pile of clothes in the middle of the kitchen. How unfair is that? And she's not doing anything? She's 19? Yeah, I mean, that's just completely unfair to OP. I know that her husband is like, oh, well, the kids need a childhood. She's 19. She had a childhood. Sorry. Anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk, your husband sounds like he expects you to do everything just because he's the breadwinner. That's not how a partnership works, and his parenting is lacking as well. Chores are an essential part of childhood. You're literally doing his mom a huge favor in preparing her house. It sounds like he hasn't thanked you yet for that either. You and your husband should try couples therapy to work on issues. If he is unwilling to change, you need to ask yourself if you want to be his personal servant for the rest of your life. I personally wouldn't, especially with how poorly he treats you. And OP replies, thank you for replying. It's weird, like really weird. Outwardly, he's progressive and embraces equality, and when I was working full-time, he did a lot of things. He does do things now, but more and more it comes off like it's a favor to me, or it's a huge burden for him to fold his own laundry. He'll dig clean work clothes out of a basket and tell me how there's nothing in his drawer while giving me the look. We did therapy a while back, but it didn't help. We've both changed a lot and have issues regarding family relationships, but it's gotten to the point where imagining a lifetime of this leaves me feeling just hopeless. This isn't how I want to spend another year, much less 30 or 40. It's a sad situation. Our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for refusing to babysit my sister's kids any further after he lied about her to me? My sister is a single mother with 2 children. An 11-year-old and a 7-year-old. The 7-year-old is a boy while the other is a girl. She works a lot and doesn't have a lot of money to afford babysitting, so I started watching her kids for free. There was an incident one day where the 7-year-old had gotten mad at me because I wouldn't let him jump on the couch. I explained to him that he could get hurt, and he threw a temper tantrum, which was normal, which is what kids do at his age. Well, around the time my sister gets home, he suddenly starts bawling his eyes out and running to her. I'm confused as he was just fine a second ago, but followed behind him to greet her. He immediately starts on a rant about how I had a man in the house and how neither him or his sister had eaten at all that day. My sister was rightfully mad and started asking questions. I shook my head. I said he was lying and that she had cameras, so we should probably sit down and watch them. She said no and that I needed to go before she called the police. So I left. A few hours later, she calls me and apologizes, saying that she watched the footage and saw no man enter the house at all, and that she had seen that her son had refused to eat the dinner that I made them. She asked when I could come by next, as she hoped I understood the misunderstanding, but I said I would no longer be babysitting for her. She said that he's just 7, and that kids lie all the time, but I still refused. We went back and forth over the phone, insulting each other, and that was that. Our mother thinks that I'm being ridiculous for being mad at a kid. But it's more than that. I could have gotten in trouble if the police had shown up and he was saying what he said. Am I the jerk? Alright folks, what do you think? Jerk? Not the jerk?
Not the jerk.
Lots of not the jerks. Alright, so yeah, I don't think that OP's a jerk. Their sister immediately took their child's side. They didn't question, they didn't, think to themselves, well, maybe my son is not telling the truth. They immediately assumed that their child was telling the truth. And, this might not be the last time that their son does something like this. So OP is kind of, walking on a thin rope here if, they expect to be not taken seriously or if the child's going to basically try to lie. I mean, OP even offered to sit down and look over the footage, and their sister refused. And I think that that's a shame, but I think that that's grounds to not really want to babysit again. I mean, it just shows an utter lack of trust from OP's sister. So yeah, anyhow, take care and good luck. Not the jerk, you told her to check the camera. She refused and then threatened you with the police. She doesn't get to go back now and pretend everything is fine. Yeah, exactly. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, consider giving me a like. And if you didn't, consider giving me a dislike. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
My neighbors got very upset. I was bringing down the property of their value.